Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. Daily Dose Radio is kind of like that bowl that your mom used to make cookies in. You know, and after the cookies came out, they were put in the pan and they were put in the oven, and then that bowl was left. And it had, all that leftover goodness in it. And you just stuck your hands and your fingers and your face in that bowl and tried to get all that yummy out. Daily Dose Radio is kind of like that. It's just a lot of yummy. And you try to get it all because it's so good. But it's only 5 minutes a day, so it doesn't take you that long. 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Daily Dose Radio, we're studying the Psalms verse by verse. Now, let me give you a warning. This week, today and tomorrow of this week, is going to be a little different because if you are a pro-choice person, if you don't believe in the life of the unborn, you need to watch yourself because the psalmist is going to come at you hard. So just a warning, this is a public service announcement from Daily Dose Radio. Be careful because today and tomorrow, boy, he comes at it really hard. So it's all about life on this episode and tomorrow's episode of Daily Dose Radio. We're looking at Psalm 139 today. We're going to look at verses 13 and 14. Tomorrow, verses 15 and 16. And as I said, it's all about life. Let me read today's portion. For thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Now, this week, for the second part of Psalm 139, I'm reading from the King James Version, although I'm going to argue with it just a little bit this week, and that'll give us a different perspective, I think, on the psalm. So, notice verses 13 and 14. Thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. So, who's doing the work of the unborn child? Is it just an accident of evolution that the child is growing in the womb, the sperm and the egg come together and the child is produced, or has God done something? Oh, I think the psalmist makes it very clear that God has done something. He is possessed and covered. And who's done that? The Lord has done that. My reins, that is my mind, the reason in me. And he has covered me in my mother's womb. And then notice verse 14, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. There it is again. So God's hand is at work. It's seen in the first part of the couplet in verse 13, in the second part of the couplet in verse 13, in the first part of the triplet here in verse 14. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Who's doing the making? Who's he praising? He's praising the Lord. Marvelous are thy works. Now, we've seen that before. We've seen this word marvelous used when talking about the division of the Red Sea, the drying of it up, the people passing over, the firstborn of the Egyptians being smote, the slaying of the kings, the great kings. We've seen this being recounted over and over in the things that God has done for the people of Israel. But now the psalmist brings this home, and he's not talking about what has been done for the people in the past. He's talking about his own life. He says, marvelous are thy works. And what work is he talking about? The work of making a human. And that's the work of God. Always has been, always will be. And that my soul knoweth right well. The rabbis have taken that last piece, that last stanza of this triplet, and they've said this is what makes men different from all the rest of created order, is that we have a soul. And when the psalmist says, my soul knows, well, that is the thing that it makes us different than every other order, family in creation, is that we have a soul that knows. We know what? We know God's wonderful works with us. We're able to praise him for it and understand that he has created us for his own glory. Join me again tomorrow as we look at verses 15 and 16 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.